Hi all, Wonton here. So you may have seen a video recently where my trapper character kills Überflieger on a one-link flamethrower trap. I mainly did this for the fun of it, and also to demonstrate how absurdly strong flamethrower trap is, but now let's show you the real character. Utilizing both flamethrower and arc traps, this saboteur can clear all content in the game quite easily. It melts Shaper in 3 seconds, and it even got me my first Überflieger and Uber Elder kills ever. So if you're interested in trying out the full endgame PoE has to offer, but you feel like your build right now is just a little too weak to get there, drop everything you're doing and play this build right now. The main skill you'll be using for leveling and mapping is arc traps. Although fire trap was probably the intended companion for flamethrower trap, arc is just, it's arc. There's almost nothing that can match its clear speed right now, and even a 5-link is sufficient for pretty much all content. So we use Deerstalker boots socketed with arc, cluster traps, trap and mine damage, and lightning pen, which is more than enough to get great clear speed in red maps, incursions, and even something like Überflieger trash. So, with a clear speed setup in your boots, you now have a free 6-link for a single target setup, and in all my testing I've found nothing better than flamethrower trap. A 6-link like this will absolutely melt everything in your way, even with just plain tabula and no other gear. But as you know, because it's Incursion League, we can start buying ridiculous corrupted 6-links to really push the damage to its limit. For example, a Tabula Rasa with +2 Trap or Mine Gems is only 15 Chaos, and because of the insane scaling of Flamethrower Trap, +2 on a level 20 gem works out to 33% more damage, kinda like having a 7-link. A Tabula with some combination of +2 Trap or Mine Gems, +2 AoE Gems, or +2 Duration Gems costs 1 to 2 Exalts, and works out to 76% more damage, kinda like an 8-link, pushing your damage to truly ludicrous heights. With a 100k average hit, a trap that can hit 10 times a second, and 3 traps, some rough math suggests about 3 million DPS, or about 10 million damage over the trap's duration, which seems to match real-world results where I can easily do half of Shaper's health bar in about 3 seconds. In fact, Flamethrower Trap with +4 gem levels is so absurdly strong that I actually practiced for Überflieger by doing normal Adziri with just a 1-link Flamethrower Trap, no supports whatsoever. And later, I took this build to its full meme potential by socketing Flamethrower Trap in a Void Eye and killing Überflieger with it. In short, the single target DPS of this skill is insane and you won't have any trouble with any boss content. As for your passive tree, it looks like this, and it's pretty standard. You basically pick up all the life in the top half of the tree, plus all the trap and spell crit nodes. Since we have no armor or ES, acrobatics is a no-brainer, and if you want, you can also spend 4 points traveling to phase acrobatics. By level 93, I've also picked up 4 jewel sockets, but you do need at least 1 even pretty early on for a hair trigger jewel. This combined with all the trap trigger area nodes in the tree means that no matter how your cluster traps happen to spread, at least one will trigger, which means with chain reaction, all of them will trigger. Until you've done Cruel Lab, you won't have chain reaction, and you'll just have to rely on expeditious munitions to trigger your traps. Fortunately, leveling with this build is very easy regardless, as you can use 4-link Deerstalkers from level 22, at which point your 5-link arc traps will one-shot literally everything in the game until maps. Your bandit choice is Alira for more crit multi and resists. To augment your damage further and make your playstyle more interesting, we also use Bear Trap and Vol Lightning Trap. On a boss that allows setup time, these traps provide another 30% multiplier, taking our effective 8-link Flamethrower Trap to, I guess, a 9-link? Either way, at this point your build has more than enough damage to kill anything in the game, so from now on, I choose to actually focus on defense. With incursions being one of the most dangerous parts of the game right now, avoidance becomes a pretty effective strategy, as most of your deaths will come from large packs of mobs like Chaos Constructs. So, even though we already blind nearby enemies, and we already have acrobatics, we double down on avoidance by putting on a Grace Aura, an Enfeeble Aura, a Jade Flask of Reflexes, a Lunaris Pantheon, a Garukan Pantheon, and even a Watcher's Eye with +8% evasion while affected by Grace. All in all, these layers of defense work out to 82% avoidance against distant enemies, or 95% avoidance if they're close enough for your Enfeeble and Blind Auras. To put it simply, this basically means you almost never get hit, and in the rare times you do, 4.5 to 5k life with Fortify is usually enough to soak it. It's certainly not a tanky build by any means, and I definitely wouldn't play it like this in hardcore, but it's enough for red maps with basically any mods, and the only build that I've gotten above level 92 on. So, with the basics out of the way, let's talk about some of the gear. I've already mentioned the 6-link chest, which should be a +2, or a +4 if you have an Exalt or 2. In an ideal world, this would probably be a Tinker skin, a belly, or even a Kintsugi, but good luck with that. Most likely what you'll be wearing, unless you have 20 Exalts, is a Tabula. For boots, Deer Stalkers are pretty much mandatory of course, and you can either go for a decent enchant like this, or try to vol them for move speed or +1 gems or something like that. Slave Driver's Hand is the only other mandatory unique. With the traps have blood magic affix, they basically remove any mana concerns for you. They also have Dex, which is a stat you need, AoE for Flamethrower Trap, generate some charges for you, and make cast speed apply to trap throwing speed. The 15% cast speed you get on the tree doesn't quite balance out the 20 to 30% reduced trap throwing speed the gloves have, but a Silver Flask, any cast speed on gear, or an enchant like this on your boots makes it a net gain overall. A helmet with +2 flames is a nice quality of life increase. Flamethrower Trap can only hit 10 times per second, so on a boss if the trap is centered, you're not actually gaining any damage from this enchant, but it does make the outside of the trap more effective, and also 6 flames looks rad, let's be honest. I bought this enchant on a Starkanias because they're easy to find, but also have life, dex, evasion, and crit, which are all stats we need. A good weapon makes up a pretty big chunk of your damage, and something like this with either Takati's mod for spell damage and extra chaos, or Matatel's mod for trap damage, as well as crit multi and either some crit or an upwind suffix for Katarina crit, can be bought for like 3 to 5 chaos, believe it or not. As for the rest of my gear, rings, neck, belt, and shield, it's pretty much just there for life and resists. In fact, most of it is literally 1 chaos garbage I bought after hitting level 68. In fact, if you stick with a +2 Tabula, the most expensive item in your bill is Slave Driver's Hand, and you can probably budget everything you need for only 50 to 60 chaos. Finally, for flasks, I use a jade and a silver, as I've already mentioned, a Ziri's Promise plus a diamond for damage, and a healing flask. Alright, now that we've covered gear, let's talk about your gems. Your 6-link is Flamethrower Trap, Trap and Mine Damage, Combustion, Controlled Destruction, Conk Effect, and Fire Pen. The 4-link in your boots is Arc, Cluster Traps, Trap and Mine Damage, Lightning Pen. And your last 4-link is Bear Trap, Vol Lightning Trap, Multiple Traps, Increased Duration. Your auras are Grace and Blasphemy and Feeble, but I also use an Anger aura that synergizes with Flamethrower Trap and my Watcher's Eye. On bosses, Grace tends to be useless since the dangerous part of bosses isn't their melee attack, so I generally toggle off Grace and turn on Anger for big boss kills. Shield Charge Faster Attacks Fortify goes in a 3-link of course, and I also have Flame Dash and Faster Casting. This leaves one empty socket where I choose to put Self-Cast Immortal Call for Überflieger. So, what's playing this build actually like? Well, frankly, extremely easy. For mapping, with a single cast you throw 4 arc traps that typically clear every mob within 2 screens of you. And for bosses, 3 flamethrower traps deal about 10 million damage, enough to kill any tier 115 bosses, though bosses that move around a lot or teleport can be a little annoying. Even tier 16 guardians melt pretty quick too, as long as you get the setup right. Bear Trap, Ball Lightning Trap, 3 flamethrower traps, pop all your flasks, and then start spamming arc traps. Just remember that you do have a maximum of 23 traps placed, so don't throw so many arc traps that it deletes your older traps. The number of active traps can be seen in the top left. Traps that have already triggered don't count towards this limit. A handy tip for boss kills, by the way, is that if you wait for 5 seconds, your traps will all trigger on their own, even with no enemies around, which can be used to get your 20% life regen from Pyromaniac going before the fight even starts. Finally, since you're safe from Reflect and don't rely on Leech, you can basically run any map mods. No regen is a little annoying, it means you'll need to flask to heal and you'll eventually run out of mana for shield charge, but you can just walk around or bring a mana flask. Well, that's it for the Trapper Guide. Even if it's not particularly original, this build has been the most powerful and one of the most fun ones I've ever played, and given me a gateway to content like Uber at Ziri and Uber Elder, which I've never done before. In fact, I think the only problem with this build is that it's so powerful that playing something else is going to seem lame by comparison. Thanks for watching, and leave a comment if you enjoyed the video.